Wait, what's this? Deadlock? Wait, what's that?
Play Deadlock.
Deadlock. You gotta try Deadlock.
Yeah, this game is gonna easily, and I mean easily, take over.
I'm playing the super secret new Valve game, Deadlock.
Whoa. Stop the music. Really, Valve? You're making a new team-based shooter? When both of your genre-defining team-based shooters have so many cheaters right now? Really? Not to mention, this game is a MOBA shooter hybrid? Who wants to play that? How out of touch, how irresponsible. You know, I've never really been fond of MOBAs, but you know what? I'll try it. It's probably gonna suck, but I'll try it. Oh my god. I get it. So if you couldn't tell from that little montage, Deadlock really clicked for me. It just gets those dopamine receptors going. Okay, but what actually is Deadlock? Well, like I said before, it's a MOBA hero shooter, but let's get a little more specific than that, because I don't think anyone even knows what that means. Deadlock leans mostly towards a MOBA, with the fact that someone with better macro and a better strategy will almost always win, and players will be at different levels of power throughout the entire game. There are some fights you just can't win.
Abrams, you can fall back, you should.
However, that's not to say there isn't deathmatchy elements. For one, this game's got some schmoves. It feels a lot like Quake or TF2 at times, with just the general feel of the engine. And it feels like Overwatch because the bullets are the size of bricks. The only thing touching his head is the reticle, like what? Okay, but let's talk map and mechanics. There are 4 lanes with creeps that spawn at the end of each of them. Hey, it's editing me, so they just, like, completely changed the map in the last update. There's only 3 lanes now. Most of my advice still applies. This video still functions perfectly fine, it's just, you should probably know there's only 3 now. That's also why I said there's a TF2 bot problem, and there's obviously not anymore. It's because this video is coming out way later than I wanted it to. Okay, that's about it. Watch the video. You are put into one of these lanes where you want your creeps to kill their guardian and push into their base, while an enemy is trying to do the same thing to you. Every time you kill an objective, a player, creeps, you get souls. A little under half of these souls will appear in an orb that if the enemy shoots, they will steal the souls. And in the late game, all of the souls from the creeps come from the orb. So it becomes a little aim lab duel to see who gets the souls. If you melee the creep, it doesn't spawn any orbs and you get all the souls. You can spend souls to get items, and that's where the real complexity comes in. Let's take Bebop. Bebop has a hook for grabbing enemies, a bomb to stick on them when they're close, an uppercut, and a big laser beam.
I'm a fire in my laser!
With all of these different items I have to choose from, I can make different builds that affect how I play the character. For example, I could play Double Bomb Bebop, where I get an item that lets me reuse my last used ability and just strap a bunch of bombs to people. Or I can play Big Laser Bebop, which lets me do this. So, after watching that, you're probably thinking, huh, that doesn't look very fair. And that's because it wasn't fair, That's kind of the beauty of Deadlock, though. Anyone can get overpowered if you get enough souls, and because of the way power spikes work, each character will be more overpowered at certain periods of the game. That's not to say there's no counterplay, though. The difference between bad and good Deadlock players isn't just aim and schmovement, it's also knowing what counters what and when to buy it. For example, if one of those people in that clip had knockdown, I would have just been smacked out of my ult and just died. The bomb build I was talking about earlier, if you get debuff remover, you can just get rid of the bombs completely.
Denied!
I just think these little interactions are what make Deadlock so special. Who is calling me right now? Hello? Hey, it's you from the future. What? Yeah, look at the time, buddy. It's time to talk about objectives. Stop stop ranting. But I'm talking about... Look, I'm sending down the title card. Just talk about the objectives. Well, I'm not doing a title card! So I already talked about the Guardians in the base, but let's go a little more in depth than that. The first layer of defense are the normal Guardians. If your team kills 3 of them, you get a flex slot. What's a flex slot? Well, you know those items I was talking about before. You can only have 4 of each type unless you get flex slots, which allow you to have more. After you get past the Guardians, there are Walkers, which upon killing gives you ability points, and if you kill 2, you get a flex slot. And then you get another flex slot if you kill all the Walkers. There are 2 more Guardians guarding the base, then there are the Shrines and the Patron. Killing a Shrine gives you the final flex slot, and killing the Patron weakens it. And then after killing it again in the pit, you win the game. Now, you more astute viewers who have been looking at the minimap are probably wondering what all this other stuff is. Well, thank you, viewer. That was definitely thinking that, and I'm not just using this for a really bad transition. Let's talk about those sub-objectives. First and most abundant of the sub-objectives are jungle camps. These are pretty simple. You shoot or punch a thingy and you get more souls. However, these usually give less than killing the creeps would do, so unless you're trying to get a specific item, you're usually better off only killing these when you have nothing else to do. There's also these crates and statues that give you small permanent buffs or souls. These aren't super useful, but you should still be picking these up whenever you can, as they add up. We also have bridge buffs. These are good temporary buffs, but good players will often try to contest these, so try to remember that they exist before your opponent just steals them. Editing me here, I never actually said what the buffs did, so here's what they do. They scale throughout the game and they're overall just really good. You gotta be getting these buffs. Alright, that's all the little thingies. Let's talk about the stuff that wins games. The urn is an objective that a lot of new players just forget about, because they don't really get it, but it's pretty simple. It spawns on either the left or right side of the map, you gotta bring it to the other side, you get a big chunk of souls, and a statue buff for your entire team. The only time this changes is when a team has a 10% soul lead, in which case the team that is behind will have the urn location closer to their base. This is to stop teams that are ahead from just spam running the urn while they have advantage. Because of the fact the urn is an objective a player has to move, you often get interactions where certain characters are better at moving it, like Kelvin, Bebop, Ivy. Basically anybody running Rescue Beam are really good at helping run urn. Ivy is especially fun because it's fun to be taxied across the map. I really need to stop coming up with bits when I haven't slept in 30 hours. Anyways, next objective we got, and it's another big one, is... If the urn is the objective to encourage team fights, mid-boss is the reward for team fights. The way this little goober works is simple. You shoot him enough, and around 60% health, he lets out a big... to tell everyone else on the map that he's being attacked. Killing mid-boss drops this big crystal thing that you have to heavy melee. Little side note, in this game you can light melee, heavy melee, and parry. Okay, got it? Good. Heavy meleeing the crystal will temporarily make all of your minions stronger and bigger, give your entire team some health regen, and give each of your teammates, including yourself, half respawn time on their next death. Hey, it's editing me again, so turns out it actually gives max health, movement speed, and attack speed, not health regen. Whoops. Now, what does this actually do for you? Well, it makes it so all of your lanes will passively push because your minions are stronger than the enemies, and it makes most team fights in your favor because people that die on your team will come back twice as fast, making it the perfect tool to help you secure wins. But here's the fun part about the crystal. You can steal it. I live for Rejuve steals. Also, side note, the crystal is called the Rejuvenator, but I live for Rejuve steals. It really gets my blood flowing. I love punching, I love parrying, I love the melee system in this game. This is the rambling part of the video now. The melee system in this game is some fighting game mind games. Parrying a problem, bait out the parry, and now enjoy your 4 seconds of uninterrupted punching. And you know what? Build your character specifically for melee. Who cares if they parry? Just tank through it and punch them again! Ooh, sorry, I think I blacked out there for a second. Let's talk about how Deadlock differentiates itself from other games that have tried to do this non-top-down MOBA thing. Well, first of all, everyone in Deadlock has a gun, and second of all, it really uses verticality. I feel like my problem with games like Smite is that it just feels like a normal MOBA with a third-person camera. Let's take a look at how Deadlock does this differently. Let's look at Lash. Lash's slam does more damage the further up in the air you are. This is a great way to incentivize people to use his grapple offensively. Stuff like this is what makes Deadlock cool. And I really hope new characters in Deadlock keep having these cool, unique abilities that actually interact with the 3D space. I think it will really help boost this game. Now, finally, let's answer the question. Is Deadlock the next big thing? No. Deadlock's real problem is the same one that every MOBA has: accessibility. You have a lot to learn if you're trying to get into Deadlock. You have to be able to aim on top of MOBA fundamentals. That's a lot to handle, especially if it's someone who hasn't played MOBAs before. I do think this game has a lot of potential, and despite it being a new competitor in the scene, it's got that Valve money backing it, so hopefully when the game fully releases, it will become semi-popular. But point is, I really like Deadlock, and yeah, that's basically what Deadlock is.